Clear prop. Welcome back to another episode of Tractor Roy. My name is Trent. Bought a hay rake from my neighbor, so I'm going to use this Allis Chalmers D17 diesel, year of 1959. Gonna get this thing fired up and go hook up to it. This one's got a set of remote hydraulics that I know work. My 70 has them, but I think they're too rusty and won't take the couplings. The 65 doesn't have a remote. I don't know, this one just makes the most sense. And I kind of like running this thing. It's like 36, 38 degrees this morning, so this is kind of on the lower end. Last year when we first got it, we didn't have the grid heater hooked up, and this was about the low end of the temperature that this thing would start. So we'll see if it does any better this year after we hooked up that grid heater. So this is the air intake coming in right here, and this is the intake manifold. That grid heater sits right in here. Before we had that grid heater hooked up, you could just spray in starting fluid through this hole. Go right up there into the intake. Now that we have it hooked up, that's what this wire is right here. It grounds from here, goes through all that heating element, and then is powered here, goes through the heating element, grounds right there. Now that we have this grid heater hooked up, we do not want to spray starting fluid in there if we're using that. We could either use this and no starting fluid, or use starting fluid and not use this. But it's been, or at least this summer, when it'd get down to like 40, 50 degrees, it would still start pretty well with that grid heater. So when we first got this, the grid heater wasn't hooked up and none of the wiring going to it was either. You can see this relay right here. It's a 250 amp relay. It comes off the battery. This cable right here goes up to that relay, through that relay down to the grid heater. To control that relay, we just have this button right here. When we go to start this thing, make sure our injection pump is set to put fuel in. This is fuel off, this is fuel on. Give it a little bit of throttle, turn our key on, and then we push and hold this for, now we'll probably try and do it for like 20 seconds maybe 30 seconds. The longer you go, the hotter the air gets, but the more it'll drain the battery. We only have one battery in here right now. It was working okay doing it with one. If we use this in the winter, we might have to add two in just so we can get it cranking a little bit longer. Clear prop. Ooh, yeah, so doesn't really want to this morning. That battery doesn't sound like it's fully charged. Yeah, I was kind of worried about that. This battery's been sitting out here since, well, I finished haying. There's an issue with this thing charging. I don't think that voltage regulator, it's either not tied in right. When we rewired this, it might have got missed, or it needs a new one, or it just needs that the field windings need energized on that generator. This one, it's got the power steering pump coming off the back of the generator, so I don't know how easy or hard it's going to be to add an alternator in, because I'd have to rig up something to drive this power steering pump off the back of that alternator, which could be pretty possible, but we might just fight with that. I'm not really a fan of generators just because I don't have a lot of experience with them. I don't really know the ins and outs of them. There's more that can be an issue with it. You have to have a voltage regulator and a generator in there. Every time you take out the battery, you're supposed to excite the windings of it. So I don't know. Alternators are easy, especially those 10 SIs or the one-wire alternators. The engine runs, it puts out voltage. You don't have to worry about anything else. You can replace the parts inside of them. These you replace brushes or that voltage regulator, but I don't know. There's just more wiring and stuff. I'm not a big fan of them. Other than the cold starting issues that this thing still doesn't like colder weather, this thing was fantastic for me this summer. I use this thing exclusively to bale. Actually, I shouldn't say that. I use this most of the time to bale with. I have some fields I do here by the houses, and then some in town, and then I had to do some back here at the houses. Well, this was in town. So look, I use this and the C in town, or to do all the stuff out here. Then I hauled everything into town. Well, it's easier just to haul the baler out here and leave this in town. So then I use the 65 for a couple of the fields out here. The 65 didn't do too bad, but I definitely prefer this one over it. It is a much nicer tractor to well, use for baling and stuff. I did use this raking a little bit, but mostly we use that C. This thing, it's a 4-speed with a high and low, so neutral's in the middle, so it doesn't technically have a live PTO, but you engage the PTO with the foot clutch. And then if you come into some tough spots of hay or it gets a little thicker, you can pop this down into low or into neutral, and then you can just bail on high for the rest of the time. So it gives you 8 gears plus a fake live PTO with this, throwing this in neutral. This thing, it uses far less, I mean, it's a diesel, so obviously, but it uses far less fuel than my WD-45 did. I mean, that thing, I seemed like I was filling up the tank every day or every other day, but this one, gosh, I'd probably use less than half or maybe even a third of what I use in that WD-45. In the middle of summer, it doesn't really have any issue starting. It just, there's probably still something, I think we have some issues with maybe some air leaks in the injection lines or in some of the fuel lines. So I think that the injection pump kind of loses prime, and that's why it's a little bit harder starting. There's other things that we could do. This grid heater helped out a ton, just still not perfect. Usually our plan is to just not use this thing in the winter anyways. It'll go back in that new shed over there, and it'll probably just go in the back of it until springtime comes and it's warm enough. Anytime that we need another tractor, the 65 we'll probably use, or that 300, that John Deere 300. We did put a coolant heater on this thing, but I don't really want to run an extension cord all the way out here. Clear prop. Oh yeah. That actually wasn't too bad. Took a little bit, but if I'd had a charged battery, it probably would have been better, but my truck sure came in handy. So I'll probably leave the truck hooked up for a little bit because we're having the charging issue still. So I want to charge up this battery just a little bit before we are done with it. I'm not going to shut this thing off until I'm done moving the rake around and everything, but it's not going to charge when I do that. Probably once I'm done here, I'll pull the battery out and go throw it in the shop on the trickle charger. It's not ready to get parked in the shop yet. It needs the lights and a couple of receptacles wired in there. Oh, and then some netting up above it. So this thing will probably get parked right here until that's done. Then that'll be a fun day. Hopefully it's not too cold when we go to move this. See, I can put it in gear, but leave it in neutral. You saw it move just a little bit. The fluid's just a little cold. So now I can put it in low. We were a little low on hydraulic fluid, so I'm going to go ahead and grab some more because we have plenty. And, like always, just seems like we always use high guard. Just what we got. Grab a funnel. That'll work. This is where you check the hydraulic fluid. There's a little breather that comes off of it. Actually, I don't know if it's supposed to come off. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to come off. And then our dipstick is right there. You have to make sure to fully extend the rams, which are, it's the snap coupler deal in the back. Make sure that's all the way up because those hold some of the fluid. So you want this to be within the lines with those extended. That way, because if you have the rams down and you have this full, when you lift those rams up, you could be off the dipstick because there's so much more capacity when those things are raised all the way. So double check because I wasn't paying attention. Yeah, we're not quite on the stick. Yeah, we just use high guard and everything. As weird as that sounds. We ended up with like 60, 70 gallons. And it's for new tractors, it's transmission and hydraulic oil. It's pretty close to like a 75, 90 weight. It's more closer to like the 75 weight than it is to a 90 weight. So it's a little bit thinner than gear oil. But yeah, it seems like it works okay for us. If we ever have gear noise, we can just add in some like Lucas to help thicken things up a little bit. Okay, we're just barely on it. So I'll probably just go ahead because I don't know how much that rake is going to take. Probably just put the, whoops. There we go. That was harder than it needed to be. That's all topped off. I'm gonna go put this stuff away and then we're ready to rock and roll. You can see that we got some leaks right here. I think it's behind this cover. I don't actually think it's this. Well, it might be. I don't know, but I do know we have some leaks going on here. This hydraulic oil does drain off. Probably have a leak at the back. I know we have a leak up here. Really, this first year was to, work all the bugs out, figure out what else we got to fix. So we did have to put a new proof meter on here. So it is 26 hours since we've done all the work on this. So it really hasn't been all that long. But that is enough time to kind of see where some of the leaks are happening. So that 26 hours that we put on that, or on this thing, I think 4 or 6 of it was brush hogging my field, and then the other 20 was just running the baler. We've been kind of like driving it around a little bit like we are now, but mostly been working for that 26 hours. It does still smoke every now and then, and it's gotten a lot better since we've worked it. But I think we just need to keep working it hard, trying to clear out any of that carbon buildup on the injectors and inside the cylinders. Well, that part wasn't as bad as I was expecting. I have no idea how this rake works. Never seen it. Well, I guess I've seen him driving across the field with it, but yeah, just like I've never actually used this remote. I hooked my baler up to it because I wanted to use it, but I didn't get a chance to. I guess first, figure out how to use my hydraulics. This is where we're at. That one didn't pick up, those two didn't pick up. I kind of get the feeling they're not really good anymore. He was having some issues with this. I got this for very cheap. Probably a combination of we do a lot of work for helping out each other, and he probably just really didn't like this thing. Okay, I figured out the issue. On most of these, like this, there's the chain goes in that little hook and lifts these things up. On this one, for instance, it broke off. So this chain isn't hooked to anything anymore. This one just popped off. This one is off like that, but the chains are on here for him. So I will work on that. And I kind of wonder, I guess they're just supposed to be a spring. Oh, maybe that's to latch them once they get lifted up. I don't really know. This is all new to me. And then I think I got to pull that bar so I can shrink this in so I can get it to go through my gate and stuff. So, first impressions of this rake. I understand why he only wanted what I paid for it. These are bent on a couple of them. You know, they're supposed to be straight. Like, that one's good. But this one is bent. So then it kind of, I don't know, it's goofy. The front here actually isn't too bad. I don't mind it. Folds up, pin it. A lot of this is manual, so you can tell it's just a cheap, it's a Farmhand rake. You can just tell it's a cheaply built rake. Maybe I should say like they were gearing towards affordable with it, which is fine. You know, it's not that big of a deal. So that bar, when you fold it up, goes there. You stick it in these various holes to adjust your width of it. It's got a set of remotes for lifting up all the wheels. It looks like you can also move the tongue here out front. I don't know what you would want one way or another. I'll probably try and move it up to the front ones though. Seems like it makes, he was having issues with it turning over the windrows. I don't know if it's just because they were so thick. He uses a drum mower like 8 foot, so I think he was trying to combine 3 into 1. I use these 16-foot swathers, so I'm only going to be doing 2 into 1, but I'm going to be raking him into dry ground. So I think how it was set up is he was trying to rake 2 windrows on this side and 1 on this side, something like that. So I just wonder if it wasn't flipping it over well enough. This is the setup for it. It's got that chain keeper, spring, that way, a little bit of give to each of the wheels. To lift them up, it pushes that cylinder out, which lifts up or pulls up on all these chains. When you lower it back down, cylinder closes back in, drops these to the ground. So it looks like you can adjust it just depending on where you hook this spring at. That way you can adjust the height of it, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to need to put new teeth on quite a few of these. A lot of them are broken. Not a big deal. I mean, it does add up when you have to do this many, but I would like to try and make this thing workable. This bracket right here, like I had mentioned, is broken on that one. And then that one, and maybe that third one from the back is missing this spring. What else do I need to work on here? I'll probably put some different tires on there, something that's, well, I don't know, we'll see. So when you fold it in like it is now, then you got to move these so it tracks right. One of these wasn't straight, so it was just pulling. Well, you can kind of see it's not quite tracking straight on that. But anyway, so as you open this up, then you got to swing that wheel out so that way the wheels are going straight. There's some adjustment there for picking up this side. It's cable on this side, rod on that side. Boy, I don't know. Oh, so it looks like that spring broke. That one doesn't have one. That one doesn't have one. That one doesn't have one. That one has one. The next one doesn't have one. Yeah, all the ones on this side are okay. So it's just going to be a couple of adjustments, welding some stuff, getting some new springs, some new chains on there. I ought to paint it. Clean it up a little bit. Anyways, I didn't pay much for this thing. I don't know if it's going to stick around forever. First impressions, it'll probably work for me. Second impressions, you know, I guess we'll see when the time comes. I don't know if I'm going to like this style of rake. I was reading on some forums that this is, well, like I said, it's a budget rake. So it's not super great, but I'm thinking it'll work for what I do because I'm not like big production, not like a big old commercial setup. I mean, that's my baling tractor for my $600 baler. Probably going to I'd like to throw that MD on this rake. So it won't be, you know, not much. Not looking for production. So anyways, I'm going to drop this rake over here. And I'm going to go take this D17 home because I'm working on getting that 300 running. Got the tires put it on it last night. Had to swap tires. I got a good set of tires to put on that, then the tires from that are going on that. And then I think that thing is going to go down the road as soon as I can start it up and adjust a couple of little things with it. So I think I am going to call that it right there. Yeah, we got this thing fired up. I kind of didn't want to start, but it did once I had a full battery. So that kind of leads me to, we're going to need 2 batteries to get some extra cranking hours in there for that grid heater. So yeah, it's nice to be able to start this thing in the winter if we ever needed to. We probably won't use it. We have so many other gas tractors running around here that'll be easier than dealing with that diesel every time we need to start it if it's like below zero, wanting to plow snow or whatever. So if you enjoy this, throw a comment down below. Hit that subscribe button. Follow along with all these other projects I got going along. Probably going to have a video on this rake, cleaning it up at some point, probably be closer to springtime. Yeah. Hit that thumbs up button if you enjoyed it. Throw a comment. If you want to let me know something. Hope I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching Tractor Roy. Can't forget you, little guy.